Hi friends, welcome to a full face of Pat McGrath. And if it's your first time tuning into one of my videos, I'm Alicia and I have a lot of Pat McGrath content on my channel, eyeshadow palette, looks, product reviews. I thought it would be appropriate to dive into the brand in a way that's a little more objective. At this point in time, having reviewed the brand for so long, having my relationship with the brand evolve over time, starting off as an enthusiastic customer, moving on to receiving PR, being invited to the events, meeting Pat McGrath herself. A lot has happened since 2017 when the brand first dropped. I believe that was the year. And looking at all these makeup products that Pat McGrath has released thus far, I concluded that despite the drama, I say drama, but despite our observations where the brand has changed from then till now, I still think Pat McGrath Labs is an incredibly solid luxury brand, and we'll go through the entire line from skincare all the way through lips, covering some products that are no longer available but I think do still have relevance in presenting context, understanding why Pat McGrath have released the formulas that she did and where they sit now. We'll go over everything, and especially if you didn't hear about Pat McGrath, if maybe you heard about the brand but you were unsure about her products, where to start, what to do, how to use them. This probably is going to be a long video that I actually filmed once, but I couldn't stand how my hair looked. It was quite fuzzy considering that I was approaching my wash day and heavy in my hat bag, wearing beanies and caps like crazy. But don't you worry, we're going to start over again, and I have my computer on standby because I spent a good half hour or maybe more encountering products that I forgot. I forgot that existed. Different shades, different limited edition, whatever, brushes. Oh my gosh, so much makeup from Pat McGrath Labs. We're gonna get into it, fam. If you wanted to skip over to a specific section of the video, I have timestamps down below, but you could also scrub against the timeline to see the chapters pop up. With all that out the way, it's time for you to come in a little closer. That's enough. Let's begin with skincare, shall we? And funny, when Pat McGrath released her foundation, loose powder, and concealer, which is categorized by the sub-brand Skin Fetish, which we'll get to when applying the foundation. But after that, Pat McGrath released her first skincare product, an essence product, Rose 001, the essence, which is hard to see now because I shook it up. You can see a little bit here. It's a bi-phase formula where you have the liquid component and the milkier consistency on top. This is not new in the skincare space, as I think it was first introduced as a Korean skincare product and now is in the Japanese skincare product realm. I think it quite appropriate for Pat McGrath to develop a product like an essence, as it speaks to the significance or how much priority she holds for skincare in regards to having that milky consistency that you see on all her models on the runway. And also serves as a fantastic prep. Now, if you're encountering me for the first time, I do not have a skincare routine. I adopted skin sobering last summer, where I completely eliminated both morning and night routines from my life. I no longer use dedicated cleansers, serums, toners, essences, moisturizers. I do wear a sun hat and wear SPF where applicable, but more or less I don't use dedicated skincare regularly. However, I do rely on it for makeup prep, and I actually suggest that you do the same. There are dedicated makeup products that are marketed for priming purposes, because in addition to the essence, Pat McGrath also has her primer, which released with the foundation, concealer, and loose powder, and is actually repackaged. It first released as a pump, but now it is a tube. I never tried the primer, so unfortunately I cannot speak on it. I do like the essence though. I like it in what it gives my skin. It does have a little bit of glow, and it also has a little bit more zhuzh because there is oil in this formula. So if you're not a fan of oil, if you're oily to begin with, maybe the essence isn't great to apply. But if you're dry to combination, the essence helps. It surely does. Next, we have the Skin Fetish Sublime Foundation. This is one of Pat's more luxuriously packaged products. You have the frosted glass, the plastic cap with the gold detailing, and the gold label with the hieroglyphic design for the logo. And this foundation is old, but it's fine. I'll apply it just for the video, you know, but if my skin burns off, then I'll know not to do that again. I have this in the shade Light Medium 14, which, that could work. I also have Medium 17 on standby. Might be a little too golden for me now. You know what I mean? So I think I have to mix these together. Let me grab my palette. Hold on. The foundation, in my opinion, overall was well received. But there are a few observations I made because beauty YouTube and actual makeup artists, I think, apply makeup differently. And with this foundation, considering that Pat McGrath developed it, came from more of a runway makeup artist perspective, in my opinion, should be applied in light layers, because you see it's quite liquidy and could influence someone to apply too much, which you can. I found if you apply too much, you run the risk of it appearing too made up and it sitting on the skin. I mixed the two together using a synthetic brush and pouncing that all over. If you need more coverage, however, then you will lightly address those areas of the face. Instead of doing what I've seen people have done, which I think is just way too much makeup, is pump the product on the actual brush and then apply it directly on the skin. I feel that's way too much product, first and foremost. The best thing, in my opinion, is to start with one light layer and you investigate and say, hey, where do I need a little more coverage? Maybe you'll go in with a smaller brush. And these are one of Pat McGrath's brushes. This, I think, released with the Skin Fetish Lime. It's a little more dense than my Mizuho brush, which, by the way, likens to, I think, Pat's foundation brush. It's similar in design, except maybe Pat's brush has more of a flat top, whereas the Mizuho 510 is a little round up top. And I'll just pounce that over the areas that need more coverage, right? But this is the reality of my skin right now. This is where I have a little bit of my pigmentation, which was self-inflicted, okay? If I left those suckers alone, I wouldn't have had these spots. Entirely my fault. But I do believe this is the best step to take, ensuring that the makeup appears fresh, soft, matte, natural, which I think is the finish that the Skin Fetish foundation provides. It's lightweight, but it's buildable and sits in the medium coverage realm of things. Easy to apply, again, if you take your time with it and don't overwhelm the skin with product. I also feel the essence helps provide a little more zhuzh, if you will, in order for the foundation to blend well into the skin and it doesn't appear dry after the application. However, as I mentioned before, it is key that you work in layers, because I do think if you apply too much of the Skin Fetish, initially it might be okay, but over the course of the day or however long you wear the foundation for, it starts to gather and settle and it doesn't look as fresh as it did when first applied. But if you apply it in light layers and are more strategic with how you apply and where you place it, I think it will look much better over the course of several hours. Next, the concealer, specifically the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection concealer. This is a high coverage concealer, different than the foundation, and I think Pat did that purposefully because you have the lighter consistency from the foundation. The concealer is therefore meant to provide a little more coverage on those areas. Maybe we could attack these spots here. The thing is, this is a little yellow on me. I might mix it with LM14 just to adjust the color a bit. I don't think this is a great concealer in my opinion, to paint under the eyes. You don't need much. I think that's a mistake. I feel if you wish to place it directly onto your skin, just that. I'm telling you. However, if you wanted to move it a little more fluidly, then you can rely on the foundation's consistency. I'll drop a bit just so you can see the difference. See how the foundation is super liquidy and how tacky the concealer is. I'll take that same brush I used, pouncing both foundation and concealer, applying that under the eyes, and see how that provides better movement under the eyes. And also the lighter color from LM14 better adjusts M15, because M15 alone is a little too golden, and that was probably my fault because I think this was sent to me sometime 2 years ago. You're like, Alicia, that's old makeup you're applying. I know. So for the sake of the video, I'll remove it right after we're done, friends. And if something happens, if my face burns off, I will let you know in the community board. But this is looking good so far. Attacking the nose, but the nose is probably gonna look like trash because allergy season is still here. I will pounce the concealer over these spots, and that definitely provides a little more coverage, but when mixed with the foundation, it doesn't look as heavy. You know what I mean? How is the skin looking? Do we like? I like the foundation. It's one of my favorite foundations in my entire collection, not only formula wise, but color match wise. I do have to mix this too. Maybe 15 or 16 would be a better single match for me. But I think if you follow my recommendations in regards to the application, you will get the best outcome out of the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation. Powder. Okay, the powder products from Pat McGrath Labs, one of the more outstanding formulas from the entire line. Alongside the foundation and concealer, we have her loose powder. Again, we're in Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection setting. I have this powder in 3 shades: light medium 2, medium 3, and medium deep 4. I technically can use medium deep 4 for some bronzing, kind of like Bare Minerals Warmth, that vibe. I will use light medium 2 to lightly set around the face. You probably don't need to do this if you are dry combination, but if you need a little more reinforcement for longevity's sake, if you're on the oily side, then I will most certainly suggest you set. Here's the thing with this powder. People like to just over powder the skin, in my opinion, and at this time, or at the time when this Skin Fetish line released, people were still baking. They were doing a lot. In my opinion, I think this powder is best applied in a lightweight fashion. I don't think Pat was baking backstage. That's just my assumption because I just can't see her do it. I envision her and her artists to lightly whip powder onto the skin in order to maintain that luminosity that's left behind with the foundation. So let's grab our favorite powder brush, and this is something I learned from Sonia G's interview with one of Hakuhodo's representatives, where whipping the bristles gets air into the brush. So when you start to swirl the product in, which I think is crucial to ensure the best distribution throughout the bristles and to not overwhelm the skin with powder. This, in my opinion, is the best way to apply this powder. So the skin doesn't look heavy. It still has a little bit of a soft focus glow, and it just doesn't look powdery. You know what I mean? You don't need a lot. You run into trouble, I feel, if you go like this. You see how the powder is uneven on the bristles, and then no, don't do that. Get the lid, all right? Swirl and twirl. Ensure that the powder is all throughout the brush, So it looks like this. So it looks like a soft gradient. And then you whip it around, right? Wherever you need. Maybe you don't need it all over your face. Perhaps just on the T-zone area. Perhaps you use a smaller powder brush, so you're a little more precise with that powder application. But look at the skin. You see what I mean? I think that's nice. It doesn't look heavy, right? I'm telling you. If I wanted a little more warmth, I would have gone in with medium 3, right? Or if I want a little more bronzy bronze, medium deep 4. But this is the product that I believe, when it first released, just show-stopping instant hit and still one of Pat McGrath Labs' best sellers. Most definitely her under eye blurring powder. This, compared to the loose powder, is a baked product. It came as a dome when it's new, and it's just more airlight. There's more air in the formula, and it's just lighter overall. It has a luminescence to it, and it likens to the Hourglass powders here. I think people were disappointed with the packaging. It's lightweight, it feels cheaper, and the Pat McGrath logo was not etched on, but I think just, I don't know what you call it, stickered on in some way, but not lasered on. Like this compact here. This is the Marc Jacobs eyeshadow compact. It looks similar to the Pat McGrath, but this is a lot heavier. The plastic is heavier. Marc Jacobs is etched on the lid, and you have this little lip. Ooh, that was lining. You got a lip here, but look how huge the mirror is for a single eyeshadow compact. I think if the under eye blurring powder came in this type of a compact, it would have aligned more with the Skin Fetish foundation design for the bottle. Like that was super luxe with the frosted glass. And if the under eye powder came in something like this, but I get it, you know, I get it. We'll take what we can get. Now, I have 3 shades from the under eye blurring powder, and recently it released in a like pink kind of undertone. This is the lightest shade from the lineup. So imagine this, but with a light pastel pink tone to it. I have the medium, which is what I use for my under eyes, and a newer edition, but came out before the pink tint, was the yellow, a little more golden, and then there's a deep version which is more of like a neutral brown tone, which I have, but I think it broke. I don't know where it is. I prefer to use the under eye blurring powder for my under eyes because I do think it is more smoothing than the loose powder, and because of its air light texture, it definitely does, it's in the name, have more of a blurring effect, which I think appropriate since some of us might have a little more texture here under the eyes to set, but also to not appear heavy. So I can go either with light if I wanted a little more brightening under there, or I could go in with medium. I'll show both. Let's go in with light on one side. And what should I pick? Sonia G, Designer Pro. Now, as opposed to how much prep we needed to put into the loose powder, with the under eye blurring, you just tap and go. You pick up enough with one tap. You could, you know, tap off the excess if you like, and then you lightly pounce under the eyes. And you see how that smooths out the under eye area while providing some hold reinforcement, ensuring that the concealer won't crease over the course of the day. This is the medium shade, and I'm lightly tapping, releasing some excess. The light definitely gives me a little more brightening under the eyes, whereas the medium is just my skin tone. Totally fine to do. And although the product says under eye blurring, you can apply this anywhere you need blurring on the skin. It does not have to be exclusively applied under the eyes, especially if you do have drier skin, but you would like a little bit of powder, then perhaps skip the loose powder and just rely on the under eye blurring. Still to this day, one of my most favorite under eye blurring or just powder products from my entire collection. It's solid, it's reliable. The negative is quite delicate. There's so much air in the powder that if you're not careful with how it's stored in your drawer, if it gets rattled and moved a lot, or you bring it along with you on trips and it's not packed well, it could get crushed and crumbled. And you don't want a cracked and crumble under eye blurring powder in your makeup bag, because it's quite messy. Now, the one product we do not yet have from Pat McGrath Labs, brows. Don't know. What do you think, friends? How is she gonna do the brows? I will rely on Benefit's Goof Proof pencil, and I got my eyebrows finally waxed from Boom Boom Brow Bar in the West Village. Will Pat release, I don't know, a pencil, a brow pen, a brow hold gel, a brow pomade, maybe all of those? I wonder where Pat holds brows on her hierarchy of makeup application. Does she hold it as important as complexion? I don't think she does, but maybe she does. Maybe that's why we haven't seen brows from her yet because she is working on it. And whatever she is looking to release, it needs to be perfect. However, knowing how the brand has started and where it is now, I'm not entirely sure if Pat is at the helm as she was at the beginning. I don't think Pat's at the helm like Natasha Denona is, right? Natasha Denona is the captain, the director, and the CEO, right? She fills in all those roles and still plays a significant role in product development. I'm not entirely sure if that's the same case with Pat now and her role in the brand. But we shall see. We shall see, because so far, brow products are missing from Pat McGrath Labs, and it will be interesting to find out what she decides or the brand decides to release for the brow category. It would be pretty cool if she did like a triple threat type of a pencil that Valentino has. I had the pleasure of trying when attending the Prada Beauty event at Nordstrom, and Ivan, the Prada Beauty artist, hopped over to the Valentino counter to grab a brow product, and it had a spoolie, a pencil, and a brow pen. Quite clever, because I like the pencil to fill in the majority of my brows and would use the marker to maybe create those feather strokes at the front. And then the spoolie, of course, is crucial to brush brows and product together so everything appears seamless at the end. Ooh, brows are looking good. Up next, well, you know, this is an exciting part of the video because I truly believe that one of Pat's strongest categories from her entire brand, most definitely the cheek category. And I have a lot of the Divine line. Actually, the first cheek product to release, well, there are two, if you consider them to be cheek, was the Sublime Skin Highlighter Trio. Okay. Oh no, I forgot those are broken. My apologies, family. I cannot lift the compact all the way. I'll just present it in a tilt here. This was the first cheek product where we have a trio of 3 baked shades: an iridescent pink, an antique gold, and a more bronzy gold. And because they are baked, they have just that beautiful shine and smooth blend on the skin, followed by her highlighter duos. And still to this day, one of my most used highlighter products for my entire collection, and I just think a solid product all around, because you have one side that presents the actual color. This is in Nude. The other side is a universal balm, which you can use by itself or use as prep for the shimmer side. You can't go wrong. This is a phenomenal product. The fact that you have both universal balm, that's just a clear gloss, and I could show you right now. I think this is fantastic to rely on if you want a light makeup day but still need a little bit of sheen on the cheeks without any color. And you don't necessarily have to apply this on makeup as I am now. You most certainly can on top of bare skin just to have a little bit of a glossy effect, but it's not sticky at all, and it doesn't move around the product underneath. It lays down evenly, but I think serves as a fantastic prep in order to provide that adherence so that the shimmery side, which is a little drier than the universal balm side, then when applying the more pearl finish, look how smooth that is. It's just, I love the duo sticks. Phenomenal. And I have them in all 3 colorways. This was in Nude, and I also have it in Golden. If you want to see Golden in action, I'll be happy to demo, and I'll apply this in the same fashion that I applied Nude, going in with the universal balm side first, followed by now the Golden side. I can use both for sure. It will be hard perhaps to distinguish between the two, but this is a little more subtle considering that it's golden and I'm medium tan, more medium right now because I'm not tan, and this side has a little more brightness to it because of the Nude. And I could use bronze like down the hollows if I wanted, but this is the bronze color. And we could also follow up with a little bit of the highlighter if we wanted to get crazy. All right, well, let's do it. I'm just gonna lightly tap You don't need much. It acts as the blurring powder in that respect. You see what I'm saying right now? Classic product. Although I cannot stand this compact. She did get rid of the trifold, right? I hope, wouldn't it be great if she re-released this in just a single flap compact like we've seen in her blush trios that were released during a few holiday collection sets? Forgive me for going on this highlighter tangent, but we must. We saw the trio, we saw the sticks. What was next? I think this was next in the highlighter lineup for Pat McGrath Labs. It released during, I think it was Divine Rose 1. This baked highlighter, my goodness, the Divine Rose Skin Fetish Ultra Glow Highlighter. This was one of my, and still one of my most favorite highlighters. It was baked, it's smooth, it has that pink base with the gold flip, and some people felt that they wanted a little more of a duochrome effect when applied on the face, but more or less, even though you can detect the pink here in the pan, it just shows up as gold, as you see here on the skin. But the smoothness of this formula is insane. The way it just melts into the skin, no matter where you apply it, because I already have product on the cheeks, okay? You tap and it just does the work for you. It is absolutely beautiful. I have a new compact in a box because I needed a backup of this. It's no longer available, okay? But then we have the Skin Fetish Divine Glow Highlighter, which is still currently available. When that released first, I think it came in just one shade and then in several more colorways thereafter. This is in Golden Moonlight and more of a pressed powder formula, but it has a little more oil in it than the baked one does. This has a little more sheen to it, I think, than the baked highlighter, and a little more pigment to it because I think it is a powder. Nevertheless, beautifully soft, but you could overdo it. You could overdo it because since this is softer, naturally you could pick up too much. It has happened to me where you do a little too much of this and you tap and it's like, whoa. You gotta be a little more conservative with this powder formula. But remember this, fam. This released, I believe, in 2020 for the Celestial Divinity collection. Remember this huge gold jar, the Champagne Gold Skin Fetish Sublime Skin Highlighter? This was a tricky shade because it's like a rose, but it's a little muted. And if I apply this on my cheekbones, see, it's a little more metallic than the other ones here. So it's a little more hardy. It was tricky because if I apply this on my cheekbone, when I turn forward, there's a little bit of a shade left behind that you could see a shadow there. So this probably better lower on the cheekbones, but you know what I'm gonna do. We're gonna get into the eyes for sure, but I'll apply it here on the inner corner of my eyes. But see how it's not as bright because it's, again, it's like a taupey rose gold. Yes, not a shade that I use often, but my goodness, I cannot get over the compact design, or I guess technically this is a jar. It's heavy. This is heavy. It can be a freaking paperweight or a weapon depending on. And it has the hieroglyphic design logo etched onto the cap, which I think this is my favorite way to go. The Pat McGrath text, not so much. You know what I mean? And we'll see that going into Eyeshadows, where she released her Astral Quads for 2019. All right, Complexion is done. Going into the Divine lineup. What an exciting time when Pat McGrath released her Divine blush formula. Oh my goodness. It was, and still is, I think, one of the best performing blush formulas in the market. Comes in demi matte and pearly finishes. This is Divine Rose, and if you haven't been here before, one of my most favorite shades, where is it? Gosh darn it. Paradise Venus, the ultimate terracotta shade that I rely on for both blush and bronzing purposes, slapping it on from cheekbone to cheek, just all over the place. And I believe it was 2 years ago, or was it last summer? My goodness, my conception of time is trash. The Divine Bronze lineup. That was also exciting because bronzer, one of my most favorite products of all time from all makeup. When Pat McGrath released bronzers, I was excited because I do appreciate Pat's perspective on skin tone and skin shades. And with bronzers, it's like, how is she gonna go? Is she gonna go warm? Is she gonna go ruddy? Is she gonna go neutral, cool? I have 3 Desert Glow, Bronze Divinity, and Bronze Nirvana. I first purchased Bronze Nirvana and Desert Glow. Bronze Nirvana is an interesting color. It has a warm tone to it, right? That's going to give me tan. But what I like about Desert Glow is its more neutral undertone, which I can also rely on for that bronze look, right? But during the sale that happened that same year, I picked up Bronze Divinity, which is the terracotta bronze. Kind of reminds me of Paradise Venus. This has a little more red. You see what I mean? But look at the texture, lightweight, whipped. It almost serves, it's like fabric in powder form. And if you like, I'll be happy to show you one color and then the other. Let's see what brush I'm gonna use. I think I'm gonna go with my Chica Hodo. And Pat McGrath does have blush brushes, 100%. She has, where are they? Where are they? This one here, I most certainly can use, but when it comes to powder products, I prefer to use a natural hair brush. The ends are left intact, they're hand bundled, unlike synthetic brushes where synthetic fibers are cut to create the shape of the brush. And when the ends are left intact as they are in a natural hair brush, that ensures a hardier but more even pickup of product, therefore a more even blend on the skin. Terracotta bronze on one side, again, this is the more red toned, and you could just see, my goodness, woohoo, right under all the freaking highlighters that I applied. But isn't that just gorgeous? Look at the skin. It practically envelops it, and it just does not look powdery at all. At all. Get ready when we apply the blush. Now, if this happens, you get a little enthusiastic about your bronzer application, make sure you have your foundation brush on standby just to stamp out some color. But I do like to apply bronzer around the perimeter of my face to imbue that more natural tan effect that will take place because the sun will hit all, well, if you're under the umbrella or wearing a sun hat, it won't, which you absolutely should be doing anyway. The warm tan bronze, this will be a little more yellow orange. Applying it with the same brush, same area. So you see there's a little bit of like a toasty red tone here, and there's a little more of like a, I guess, I want to say orange, not in the bad way. You know what I mean? But tappity tap tap. You don't need much. You don't need much. We're bronzed out, we're highlighted out. Off to the Divine blushes. Incredible formula. And initially when I first reviewed this, I was saying how some shades need a little more elbow grease or just need a slightly stiffer brush because a shade, for instance, my apologies, where is it? So many compacts in front of me. Cherish and something like Love Struck has a little more pigment in the formula as opposed to Divine Rose or Nymphette or Nude Venus, where if this was applied with a squirrel brush like something ultra soft, it will leave behind a little more of an uneven blend in my opinion, because you gotta work this a little more because of the pigments. I would like to use Cherish, but I want to go in with one more cheek product. Pat McGrath Colourbalm Stick, or the Divine Blush. So this is a part of the subcategory Divine Blush of the brand. The Legendary Glow Colourbalm Stick. I like this product. I do. I can explain why people might not have, and I think it's because this balm is best applied back of your hand first or on some sort of palette where you have a more even application from brush to face. And what I mean by that is because this has a lot of tack, if you apply this with your finger on, let's say, foundation as I have it here, you will run the risk of pulling away some of that product. thus leaving behind more of a splotchy finish, which I think was happening to people. Now, if you were just applying this on bare skin, you could just take the stick directly, sweep it, tap, and it will leave behind more of that watercolor dewy effect on the cheeks. But if you want to apply this on foundation, I actually had leftover foundation here and I'm just rolling on. This is Peach Lotus, by the way. I wanted to go in with Peach Lotus since we are using Huetopian Dream for our eyeshadow look. And now I'll use a synthetic brush because we are dealing with a cream product. And to ensure we get the most product from hand to cheek, and you pounce it on directly and look. Now, because the Colourbalm is a balm, it's a little more translucent, you are able to successfully apply this on any powder product you want, again, without lifting it off the cheeks and creating just a lovely gradient. See how you can still detect the bronzer from underneath, but now we invited that peach color and it's just glorious. How else can you explain it? Tell me down below. Isn't that pretty? And it also helped the highlighter work better into the skin. See what I mean? First, it was the Universal Balm, the shimmer side, and then we went in with the highlighter trio, the Antique Gold something. I think it was a triple number. It just helped everything work together. Okay, there are no lines of demarcation. Off to the other side in the same way. Okay, let's get it in there. Swishy. Now I know this is annoying. You're like, why would I want to dirty the back of my hand for the sake of a product that should just work by placing it directly on the skin? That's too much work. I don't want it. You're absolutely right. If this is just does not align with how you apply cheek products, makeup in general, don't buy this product. But I do think it's one of the more unique cream cheek products on the market. I do. Not only does it work well on top of other cheek products if applied in this way, it serves as just a beautiful foundation for the Divine Blush. You heard that correctly. We're going in with more cheek products because why not? You most certainly can stop here because it is a balm. It will leave behind this luminosity and dew. Okay, I think it appropriate for the summertime. Where I wore this for the first time last summer, I did like that just more ethereal, dewy effect on the face because it was in the middle of August, all right? We were sweaty, we were shiny, might as well have some blush on the cheeks while we're at it. What color, however, should I go in with next? Well, I will use Cherish. I think Cherish is a beautiful shade to use in conjunction with Huetopian Dream, although I was thinking of Nude Venus. Nude Venus is my quintessential peach shade. You can't go wrong with Nude Venus. Oh my gosh, here it is. It's subtle, peachy, but muted, not too much, just enough. And I'll use the same brush. Now, I was saying blah, blah, blah about natural hair brushes, but since we're just pouncing this on and we have the Colourbalm on, tap. All right, it's giving a little more color, all right, but we're still in the peach category, which is why I wanted to pair Nude Venus with Peach Lotus to reinforce not only the staying power, but to amplify. Look at, you see what I mean? The peach is on. The peach is on. Dusting it on across the nose, which actually, I should take some of the Colourbalm across my nose too. Yes, and we are going. We're there, 100%. Isn't that lovely? You see what I mean? Oh, I need some water. Okay. I might have failed to mention other highlighters in the line. There was the Bridgerton collab, and a few of the holiday collections had great highlighters, as well as trios, duos. There was the face palette that released, I think, 2 holiday seasons ago with like that rectangle. I hated that palette. The rectangle highlighter, and I think 2 blushes and 2 bronzes, something like that. Or it was 3 blushes and 1 bronze. In essence, the Divine Blush and Divine Bronzer formula from Pat McGrath Labs is one of her best. One of her best, hands down. Compared to the Suku, the Surratt, the Hourglass, all those top performing blushes. This formula, top 5. Top 5. Look how much product I have on my face. We apply the essence, the foundation, some concealer, a bunch of highlighter, blush products to the nines, and okay, off to the eyes. Pat McGrath does have an eye primer that I fail to always buy. And also, my apologies, the Colourbalm sticks released, well, not themselves, but the brand. 4 new shades were released, 2 of them being a glow finish, which I surmise to have pearl in the formula and it not just be the color itself. I haven't bought anything yet. I'm holding back, but if I choose to do, I'm eyeing the duos there with Alluring Nude and Electric Bloom. I would like to pick up her eye primer to see how I like it. She does, however, you could argue, does have the artistry wand. You can consider this an eye primer. It serves to emulsify the flakier textures found in her motherships, as well as, is that it? I believe it is, yes. You could say that her Permagel liners can be used as primer if you wanted more shading, but I primarily rely on that product to create the wing liner across my lash line. And this is the time. Let's do it. Well, we got a few eye products to go over. I was inspired to use Huetopian Dream because my fellow beauty enthusiast and beauty bae on IG, Cyrus. I say Cyrus. I'd asked him if it's Cyrus or Cyrus, but he will let me know hopefully soon, where he recently used Huetopian Dream and I had to dive back in because he was sharing some of his favorite combinations, and when describing the looks he created, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta hop back into Huetopian Dream, which I incorrectly underrated. Initially, I didn't think much about this palette, but I did film a video, an entire one, showcasing its beauty. Once Dolce, another beauty bae of mine, described this to be the Sailor Moon palette. Once she said that, it was over. I was locked in and subscribed. Actually, the first eyeshadow product that Pat McGrath Labs released was a kit. I think it came with the cheaper plastic single eyeshadows with the black shadow stick. That was like, it was like, whoa, who is Pat McGrath Labs? It was a kiosk set in the middle of Sephora or one of the locations I visited with sequins all over the place and these little plastic kits with the sequins inside. I'm happy we got rid of the sequins. Then when she came out with the mothership palettes, those first 3, Subliminal, Sublime, and Subversive. Thereafter, she released her 6-pan. This actually came much later. The 6 pans look like the highlighter trio format that you saw for this product. The holiday releases with the same compact design. And then we had the pleasure of experiencing for the first time an eyeshadow quad showcasing just the specialized shades. This is Nocturnal Nirvana, released in holiday 2019, because if you see her motherships, usually the last 4 here are the baked specialized finishes. The 6 are usually the mattes, the metallics, and the satins of all sorts. We just had a little old quad with the fun shades in 3 colorways. And then soon after, she released quad still. Oh, this is a broken one. Not with the specialized like the Blitz and the Astrals and the triple digit numbers or shades of the eyeshadow palette portfolio, but with the traditional metallics, the mattes, and sometimes a fun shade that could break, like this one. And then the pans got smaller. This is a Passion Fleur. It's the same compact size, but you see we got less product, something that people were disappointed in. And yes, it was disappointing to see shadow quads go from huge hardy pans, the ones that we saw in the motherships, to much smaller pans here. How sad, but funny. If you didn't know that and you just blindly bought Passion Fleur or Venetian Sunrise, another quad that was the same size as this but released with the Divine Bronzer collection, if you try those shadows, you would be happy. Yes, this doesn't look as luxurious and impactful as this, but this still performs. You know what I mean? So that's the trade-off. Before those, or I forgot at one point, but definitely before Passion Fleur, Pat McGrath released her eyeshadow singles, the Eyedols. Ooh, there was a large hoopla about that because these were expensive per single. These were like 25. Didn't come in the specialized shades, but more the metallic and the matte formula. Ooh, but this was pretty though. Remember this? Ooh, my goodness. Specifically, that was Rose Venus. Pat's metallic formula is goated. We also had her LiquiLUST liquid eyeshadows. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. These guys, it's hard to see, but maybe I could help illuminate the magic. This is Divine Champagne. Now you see that and you're like, oh, that's messy, that's chunky. I know. I'm gonna swirl it around. When you shine a light, do you see the pearl and the different colored pearl in there? Let me see if I can get it from the bottom. Oh my goodness, it is absolutely beautiful. Like, this doesn't even do it justice. You have to see it in person. That was Divine Champagne, but something like Smoldering Seduction. Like, can you even? Look at that pigmentation. And this is a long wearing product, so work quickly so you could blend that sucker out. Oh my goodness, incredible. I love this product, one of her best. And then she released her Chromoluxe pots. I don't think people were as excited about the Chromoluxe. I like the Chromoluxe because I accepted it for what it was. It is a metallic finish. It won't have that same reflectivity that's found in the Fetish Eyes liquid shadows. This is in Midnight Temptress. But look at that pickup and just application. Ooh, that's pretty too. I held back when the Chromoluxe is released in those 6 shades. Initially, this formula was released with the Star Wars collab. I think it was the second round of the Star Wars collab with 4 shades, and then the brand released 6. I only picked up 2, Lilac Liaison and Midnight Temptress, as you just saw here. It's still on my radar. Are those even still available? Let's check it out. I also wanted to make sure I'm not missing any. Well, when we get at the end to the eyeshadow look, we'll also go over the mascara and the Permagel liner. But I don't think, let me see. Let's click eyeshadow to see what comes up. We have the kits. Oh, yep, the Chromoluxes are still available. I'll wait for a sale. Pat McGrath releases a lot of sales throughout the year, so be on the lookout for those. Do not buy anything full price from the site. Promise me. Because I don't have Pat's primer, but maybe a little bit of powder, I'll hop back into my loose powder just to kind of soak up the excess oil that is developing on my lids at the moment. I'm going to tap around lightly, and remember next time, if I do purchase a few of the Colourbalm, the new shades from the Colourbalm lineup, to pick up the darn eye primer. All right, we're going into Huetopian Dream, which, my goodness, so appropriate for the season. This is like springtime explosion with everything included. Secret Eden, I love especially because it appears muted in the pan, but it serves you a little bit of a heartier rose. Where did that circle come from? There's so much going on this desk, it's kind of insane. Fluffy brush time. I actually, when I filmed this video, I started out with Midnight Temptress. I applied that all over the lid and then followed up with Secret Eden, but I think I want to use Secret Eden first because Pat's mattes are incredible. They are incredible, especially the ones found in her first palettes. They pack a punch, let me tell you. I mean, my goodness, if you didn't go in with the light hand, you'll be in trouble. Which is a reason why I feel Bronze Seduction Mothership 5 was heavily sought after. Contained mattes that weren't super deep rich, which we love, yes, but for those that needed like a medium shade or something to help, well, that's not true because that's why Subliminal was popular since it had the lighter taupe shades. But Sublime and Subversive did not have like the in-between medium shades again until Mothership 5 came along. And then with Mothership 6, the red brown, the Vermilion Venom, and Taboo, that lighter like saddle from MAC shade. I'm gonna throw Secret Eden here under the lash line. And if it's your first time seeing a mothership in action, I say eyeshadow palette, but it is an artistry palette, meaning you can apply any of these shades. Lips, Alicia. Eyes, cheeks, even lips if you wanted to dab on the actual finish on top of a gloss or even a lipstick, or maybe use the Skin Fetish shade as highlighter, or use any of these shades. Again, a huge advantage to Huetopian Dream. These are great blush shades, especially Shockwave. I mean, you can't go wrong with the coral. And then Secret Eden. But if you already have Divine Rose from the Divine Blush lineup, or maybe you have Divine Rose from the Colourbalm lineup, so many options you can go with. What can we do on the lids? I'm thinking Cosmic. Cosmic is pretty. You kind of have to work that into the lid. You could also go in with the artistry one, but look at that shine. It virtually melts into the skin. Incredible. And yes, I am speaking from a biased perspective, all right? I have long been acquainted with motherships and the shadows, but I love the formula. It's incredible. What I can do, I could show you this. Instead of going with, I think it's Noir something, I know for sure. I can go in with the Chromoluxe, just so you can see the versatility in action, because you don't necessarily have to just plop this on the entire lid. You can treat this as an eyeshadow, and because it is a plum type of a shade, I'll use it to provide a little bit of shading here on the outer V. But see how it plops on easily, and you just need to tap in order to distribute the product. And it doesn't need much. It just needs a little bit of work in it. Just do. There, look, whoa. Okay, this is what I'm saying. You could use your finger if you want. I think the Chromoluxes are insanely easy to use, in my opinion. Let me know if I'm wrong in that assessment. But especially if you have the right brush. I'm using Sonia's Fusion Worker, which is a hybrid of natural and synthetic fibers. I think an ideal tool to use with this type of formula, but it's just virtually effortless. You see the effortlessness, okay? Especially if the skin, the lid skin, is moisturized. But I still think you will have success if you had drier lids, because it's, once you warm it up and get it moving and grooving, it applies and blends well on those skin conditions. And this is where we can have a lot of fun. This is where the actual shades come into play. You don't need much. You just tap, maybe a little wiggle, and then tap wherever you like, that extra shine and glitz, and look what that does to the eyes. This is exceptional. I love this happening, especially when you pair this with Midnight Temptress. Get out of here. We already applied that holiday highlighter, the champagne gold, on the inner corner, but I think we gotta go with the Venetian Orchid shade, all right? And just tap that right on top, okay? Also, you know what I wanna do? I wanna stamp this to create a Venetian Orchid arc. This is a fantastic way to invite more astral shades into your eye looks. But if you don't want it on the lid and elsewhere, right here, so when you look up, it's like an astral rainbow or a comet. The comet is coming down in a good way. We don't want any apocalyptic destruction. Not yet, please. We still gotta put on more makeup. And you're probably wondering why. The reason why I'm not using the Astral wand is because this is a new wand. I can't find the one that I used yesterday, and I don't want to dirty this one. But to briefly describe the scenario, if you wanted more adherence and stick, especially as you saw the Astral shades have more flake and texture, this helps smooth out the flakiness and makes it appear more of like a molten metallic when applied on the eyes. For instance, if you wanted to use this bronze shade, you see how chunky it is? The flakes, there it is. You can see the texture of the flakes. The artistry one will smooth that out. It will serve as this, and it will appear more like this on the lids. But we got to do some on the lower lash line though. I think I'll go in, this is called bronze something. My apologies for not knowing the name. Taking my Fusion Worker and brushing that on the lower lash line. This is quite a large brush, but ooh, the haziness. And Pat McGrath does have her liquid liners, the Precision, let me get the correct name, Perma Precision Liquid Liner, right? I like it. I prefer Natasha's because the felt tip is a little thicker, which makes it easier for me, right? So it really all depends on your skill level for liquid liner application. I do like the color. This was actually black coffee, which I love a black coffee tone in a liquid liner format. But what we will go into is still to this day one of my most favorite liner pencils of all time, the Permagel liner in black coffee. This stuff does not move. You got to be quick with it, all right? Which is what we'll do now. I will like a little bit of shading on my lash line. And what I like to do is quickly draft the pencil along the lash line here. And it's a long wearing product, but initially, so it sketches quickly. And look at that. But once you get the majority of your pencil on, you have to grab whatever you like. Don't do it like I'm doing, just stall it, my goodness. And then start to whip it around so it doesn't set on you and you can blend it out to what you want. I did take it past my lash line a bit because I do like to create a wing with black coffee. You know what I mean? And this is a little thick of a brush because I just needed to pick up something fast. But I do like its slightly larger size since it does work quickly in that respect. But I needed to blend this a little higher. You know what? Now that we have the majority, I'm picking up my Refer brush, which is a lot smaller. And I think now will allow me to work that a little bit more. Using the leftover concealer that I have on my palette. Now to do the other side. Oh, this side turned out much better. Because I learned from my mistakes. Much better. All right, this is more what I was going for. We kind of got this, but it's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Whoa, I put so much shadow under my lash line. It's because I used a bigger brush. But you know what? That's why it's good, again, to have leftover product so you can pounce along the edges, right? And that might take away a little bit of the highlight, but that's fine because you know what I'm about to do? To fix that hole, if you will. I'm taking more of Peach Lotus with a smaller brush, and we'll use the longer one here with Peach Lotus, and I'm dabbing it purposefully right where I fixed my eyeshadow blend situation. Now that we have a little more adherence there, we can go in with any highlighter, and I'll go in with the Divine Rose one, use the same brush and tap where I applied Peach Lotus. So not only are we getting a little bit of that peach blush color, where I think an appropriate place, because people are now blushed out of their minds under the eyes, like that's where they're putting it. But the Colourbalm stick serves as a nice platform for the Divine highlighter, and this is the effect you will get. You're welcome. Okay, lips. Woo, we're almost there. Pat McGrath has a lot of lip products, and I'm sure you remember the legendary matte trans lipstick housed in the iconic lipstick case, the gold lips with the black component and the gold detailing right here. And currently, Elston is, I believe, out of stock. The classic blue red. I would like to go in with another lip product, which she has several. The Permagel liner that I have here in Structure, one of my go-tos, the LiquiLUST gloss, the Divinals, the lip balm, the Astral lip balm, the LiquiLUST legendary Wear long wearing lipstick. These are no longer available. We have this in Divine Nude. It is a liquid lipstick. It can be drying, but the color intensity is outrageous. The LiquiLUST gloss, this is in the Star Wars collab, but my all-time favorite LiquiLUST shade, which I no longer have, is Full Real. Full Real was like your goldy beige gloss that just made your lips juicy, and they all do. The LiquiLUST formula is stunningly good because it is heavy, but it's not sticky, and it's glossy. is gloss. This is in Bronze Venus, underrated shade. I love it so much. The Divinals housed in the pink chrome. With the lips, this is an Electric Lotus. And if you were wondering how it compares to Suku's glaze, the moisture glaze, this doesn't have as much slip and shine as the Suku moisture glaze. This is more balm, whereas the Suku is appropriately labeled as a glaze because it does have a lot more slide upon the application and shine as well. The Luxe Trans formula currently discontinued, and I think it was replaced by the Satin Allure formula that the Satin Allure formula released with the Bridgerton collaboration a few years back. And unfortunately, there is a downgrade in the lipstick component design. You have the main decorative piece here on the lower part of the component, but you see how the detailing is a raised plastic where now it's like just like this plastic sticker thing. Not great, but those were one of the downgrades from the brand. And I am applying lashes, but Pat McGrath does have the Dark Star mascara, but what was first released was her Fetish Eyes. The Fetish Eyes was giving you a lighter serving of mascara, more... What product was it? Was it CoverGirl? Soft and Full? Was it the Soft and Full mascara? That's kind of what Fetish Eyes was giving, and the Dark Star was giving more L'Oreal Voluminous mascara. And then she had the color mascaras that released with a few of the holiday sets that came in this holographic component design. Super heavy, by the way. For the final look, however, I will be applying lashes, but for the lips, we'll be going in with Structure. Structure is just your mid-tone nude, but man, one of my go-tos forever. As I had said, the Luxe Trans is no longer available, but this is the texture it was giving. It was a satin as opposed to the matte finish from the Matte Trans line. And the main critique I remember from this formula was that it was so creamy that it kind of accentuated lip texture and lines if you had any. Whereas the Satin Allure, although major downgrade in packaging, was a softer kind of texture. You see how it has more slip and more shine, that the Luxe Trans was a little tighter. This is not as tight, not as much coverage, but I think easier to wear and apply overall. I want to go in with an oldie but a goodie. 1995. Unfortunately, broke on me, so I got a broken bullet, but this is just your classic mid-tone, like your that color. Kind of reminds me of Sorcery, Sparrow, my beloved current Prada in caramel. Can't get enough of caramel, but this has a little more beige. Oh, that's pretty. I think I had to go in with the gloss though. I think we gotta finish with the gloss. Oh, 1995 is fun. I forgot how much I love the shade. Bronze Venus, we gotta do it. We gotta do it. Just for some extra shine. Ooh, that's pretty. All right, let's get the lashes on, put down the her, and I'll be right back. And here is the final look of my full face of Pat McGrath Labs, as I assumed at the beginning of the video, and from my experience in filming this once already. Despite what I know about the brand and how much it has changed, how I saw it change from 2017 until now, Pat McGrath Labs is a solid brand. I am beyond happy with how my makeup look turned out, my experience with these products, despite a few of the downgrades. Worth mentioning where we saw in Sunlit Seduction Mothership 12, where it did not include any of the baked shades that we saw from Motherships 1 through, I would say, Huetopian Dream. Moonlit Seduction, I don't think maybe had those 2 baked shades. I'm not entirely sure. I think Sunlit Seduction was the first Mothership to not have the baked shades, at least the astral ones. But like the Blitz Astral Orchids of the world, I don't think we saw since Mothership 8 Divine Rose 2. The downgrade in some of the packaging, for instance, wouldn't have been cool if the Colourbalm stick looked like the Duo stick. Obviously not the two sides, but if the gold detail looked like the raised gold detailing here instead of just the plastic, and we had the etched hieroglyphic design as opposed to just the text, which actually you see, like this is a downgraded version of this, right? We have the hieroglyphics, but it's just plastered on there and not etched in. We have the raised plastic here, but you see how the cap has the gold edge and this just has the gold sticker and the smaller eyeshadow pans, even acknowledging those changes. I understand how it is disappointing, but I also know I am not a brand owner. I don't know what it is to manufacture makeup, to create makeup, and what corners have to be cut in order to survive in this industry where the economy is in flames and brands are just trying to hang on. And you're like, Pat McGrath has a lot of money. Yeah, I'm sure she does, but I'm not entirely sure how much. I'm not entirely sure what trade-offs needed to be made. Obviously, trade-offs were made, but they saw the net benefit was greater and decided to go along with that. I'm not entirely sure if Pat McGrath, again, as I said earlier on, is still at the helm, how much of a hand she has in developing these formulas, these color stories, and whatnot. Even knowing all of that, this is a solid brand. I think it delivers top to bottom, and despite the changes, has been largely innovative in the industry, in my opinion, in terms of being a prestige brand, but releasing eyeshadows in this size, of this caliber, with different finishes, okay? This is just not a little Chanel quad or Dior quintet. This is eyeshadow of the highest degree with different finishes, again, from a luxury runway perspective, packaged in that way. On average though, if you were to compare this brand to other luxury brands, Pat McGrath Labs, I still think is sensational. And I understand if you have your favorites and your not favorites. I do too, in terms of some of the formulas. In the end, however, what's happening here is wonderful. It was wonderful from the skin prep, complexion, cheeks, eyes, and lips. Maybe we'll see brows. I don't know, all speculation. For my part, I'm truly happy still with Pat McGrath Labs. And again, if I were to step out of what I know, if I were to be that person randomly off the street who doesn't know as much about makeup as I do, encounter the brand for the first time, like if you won a grand prize of choose whatever makeup brand you want, don't know anything about makeup, you choose Pat McGrath, you get delivered the entire line, you would be happy. I would be happy. If that were me, I would be just ecstatic over the formulas, the finishes, the end result. I'll be over the moon. And it was also fun to dive back into my collection, again, remembering what used to exist in the brand that's no longer available and what it has evolved into, and just remembering how phenomenal Pat McGrath is, not only as how it started as a brand. I know, we might have different feelings about where it stands now, but knowing Pat and meeting her and how enthusiastic she is about makeup and just the impact she has had on the industry from behind the scenes, from backstage, what she was cooking up, to now have it in some capacity, right? Maybe she had to hold back because if in the end you got to make money, sometimes you can't go ultra. You can't cook all the way. I'm sure Pat wants to cook, but because, investors are like, is that going to sell? Maybe she had to hold back. Who knows? All that to say, I would love to know what you think, family, what your favorites are from the brand. If you, again, were to remove yourself from what you know, how would you feel about it? Would you think it's fantastic or would you think it's okay? I still love Pat McGrath Labs and I adore how my look turned out. I will hear from you down in those comments. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you in here again with another review tutorial, Pat McGrath video, maybe another 3-look something, or I'm happy to do one of these again with different Pat McGrath products. Take care, and I will see you again soon.